It started with a mirror. Lena had always been fascinated by old antiques, but when she found the mirror at the flea market, something about it caught her eye. It was ornate, with a silver frame that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. The vendor, an elderly woman with hollow eyes, told her it had been passed down through generations in her family. "It's not just a mirror," the woman had said, her voice low and strained. "It shows more than you think." Lena, curious but dismissive, bought it anyway. At first, the mirror seemed normal. It reflected her apartment just as it was, the soft glow of lamplight spilling across the hardwood floors. But one night, as Lena brushed her hair before bed, she noticed something odd in the reflection. A flicker. Just a split second of movement. Her heart skipped a beat. She turned around, but the room was still. She looked back into the mirror. There it was again. Someone standing in the reflection, a silhouette just out of place, too tall and slightly bent. Lena's breath hitched. She was alone in her apartment. She'd heard nothing, but the figure in the mirror was unmistakable. Terrified, she stepped closer to the mirror, reaching out with trembling fingers. Her reflection stared back at her, but the shadow in the corner of the glass remained. It wasn't her. It couldn't be. It was a twisted, distorted version of herself, an evil twin with hollow black eyes that seemed to gleam in the dim light. Her pulse raced. She yanked her hand away, and the reflection of the figure disappeared. The room was empty again. Lena shook her head, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination playing tricks on her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the mirror was watching her. The next night, she dared to look again. This time, when she approached the mirror, she saw it clearer. The other version of herself smiling eerily, a cruel grin stretching too wide across its face. Her heart pounded as the reflection lifted a hand, her hand, and began to wave slowly in mocking synchrony with her own movements. Lena backed away in horror, but the reflection didn't stop. It kept moving, mimicking every twitch of her muscles, every slight change in her expression. It wasn't a mere reflection. It was as if it knew her. As if it was her. Desperate, Lena smashed the mirror with a heavy object. The shards scattered across the floor, but one piece remained intact, a jagged sliver about the size of her hand. She picked it up and stared at the fragmented image of herself, now trapped in the broken glass. The reflection wasn't gone. The thing in the mirror, her other self, was still there, but now it was free. The figure reached out of the sliver, stretching its fingers into the real world. Lena's blood ran cold as she realized what had happened. The mirror was a doorway, and the thing on the other side wanted out. Panic surged through her as she tried to drop the glass, but it was as if the reflection held her captive. The thing smiled again, the grin now impossibly wide as its hand slid through the sliver and grabbed her wrist. Lena screamed, but it was too late. The reflection pulled her toward the mirror, her body growing lighter as if she were being sucked into the glass itself. The world around her began to distort, warping like ripples in a pool of water. Just before she was pulled completely into the mirror, Lena glimpsed the world beyond, a twisted, familiar version of her apartment, only darker, colder, and filled with shadows. In the center of the room stood her reflection, grinning from ear to ear. Lena didn't scream again. There was no one left to hear. In the broken mirror on the floor, a new reflection stared back. It wasn't hers anymore.